when we look at anatomy, now a lot of the time that is relating to the diaphragm. So especially like when we go into the animal forms, you know, when we go into spontaneous, because the spasm of the diaphragm, right? That means the spasm of it, okay, give you a very, very fast, right? And also movement, which is obviously trigger your voice box. So now these are the sounds. So these are natural sounds coming out from the body, not consciously made, you know, that is from, now I give you the example now, okay, yeah? So that is from the tiger. We call it a tiger. That means the lung, okay? So therefore, now I captured 27 years with video camera, okay, from all my clinical case study. So I got tons of it. You could go into A Research Video Library, you can see loads of them. Free of charge, I'm sharing with everyone. This is talking about consciousness of consciousness. But when you do it in, so we say in a group, so we got a group of people chanting. So chanting is only a words. So we can say singing, right? You can say a lot of people, you know, making noises. So that's different story because you become, right, you know, shall we say, the third party, because around you is the sound that going into your ear instead of you yourself trying to do like, you know, hey, fool, hey, consciousness. But then outside people doing the sound coming in through, now then you become the third party. And through here, you go straight into your pineals. Then you open up the pineal glands, and then you brainwaves switch into subconsciousness. That works. That works. True? Yeah? So that's why we're all trying to use anatomy. I'm trying to use anatomy and the chronology, right? The upper dantian, the master gland, so which I have spoken before, is the pineal and your pituitary glands today. Okay, maybe now you start asking more question to yourself, because if you don't ask question, how are you going to learn? Don't try to run away from question. If you run away from it, well, that's your problem. You're not going to advance. True. So we have to find the problem first, and maybe through more analysis, more learning, more research, the problem, and then we can find the answer to the problem. Okay, so even when you have the answer, then we still have to learn. Now, learning is training of the mind, and then we have the training of the body. So learning curve to training curve. So even you can train, you can learn. How good are you? Because what do you mean? That means, all right, I'm doing exercises, right? Control movement, shall we say. What are they for? Do you know? How good are you? Have you driven that movement into the subconsciousness? So from consciousness to subconsciousness, from Yao Wei to Wu Wei, can you do that? So ultimately, when you can do it, that means your mind then brainwave slip into subconsciousness, and then pineal gland, pituitary gland, these are the master gland. It will trigger, right? The master glands will release master hormones, and it comes through the bloodstream and floating out into the entire endocrine system. Trigger the thyroid and the parathyroid, and now these are we call middle dantian, chest glands and things, all different glands, and then gradually coming down, you know, to ovary glands, or the men's, the prostate glands, and kidney and drilling glands. This is what do we mean by Qigong healing. Do you understand? There's only different names. But like I said, you can use different culture. I'm sure different culture have it. Okay. The other problem is we all have different methodology. Now, I'm not an Indian guy, so I cannot answer you about how all this, you know, chakra work, because to me, chakra is 7. I'm very ignorant on that. You will be better to ask an Indian teacher, because if you're talking about all their energy, life force within the body, to the Chinese, including the brain and the spine, the Taoist medicine internal, we got 14 organs. 14 organs, they're all different. So I don't know, are they referring to the organs or what? I don't know. So if you want to mix together, big problem, big problem. Okay, yeah, and it's been recording in Chinese history for thousands of years. Fatality, people die, people actually die. So it is not very funny to try to be smart to chop suey these energy work, because cosmic energy is very powerful. We hardly know our body, and we're talking about human life involved, your own life. So my advice to you, yes, it's a very interesting topic, but please, this is a medical study. Study it well. Help yourself before you help others. Does that mean, you know, a good way to start? Okay, so that's why we look into the problem. We have to look into the problem. Okay, finally. Look into the problem. We have to look into the problem. Okay, finally, the conclusion, because obviously now the topic is there, discussion finished now. Yeah, so I try to do it as a conclusion chapter. So what I like to try to share with you is a documentary. The producer took the camera to two different places. One is in Africa and one is in America. Okay, it's about these spiritual healings. This is what we're talking about, spiritual healing. Okay, yeah. So now, obviously, they spend more time into the American side, and which is very good. Which is very good. So because I've learned a lot, and they give me a lot of direction. Okay, yeah. So what happened was, you see the camera was showing in a stadium, a football stadium, and it was jam-packed, this whole stadium, even in the middle, you know, where the pitch is, the people are there, right? I'm sure, you know, a lot of you have seen it, right? These are really big, huge events in America, okay? There's spiritual healing, right? So pastors or priests or whatever, you know, they call it, right? So it's there on the stage, and you got the choir was singing, and then the whole crowd is there. Everybody's happy, which is very good. Everybody's happy. Emotion comes through. So the emotion, very powerful biochemical, you know, energy. It's true. Serotonin, happy hormones of this flowing everything everywhere. Okay, so, and then next minute, okay, the pastors or priest or the vicar will invite 4 or 5 patients out. Okay, yeah, and obviously the film crew had done their work. Now this, of course, they are fake. They are fake. I'm saying they are fake, but even if it's 10% are real. So as a research fellows, we're looking at that 10%. It happened. Why does it happen? When does it happen? How does it happen? So this is my job. This is as a research fellows. Okay, you can say, oh, they're all fake. Fair enough. You know, I'm not arguing on that. There are too many fake, you know, things like in like that, even in China. Okay, yeah. But the job is, you know, we're trying to find out, right, differences. That means we're using the principle of the yin and yang. So my job is to try to find out. Okay, even if it's fake, right? How does it work? Even if it's true. The camera crew, the producer have done research, and before that we're cutting into clips that they were interviewing the patient, and there's genuine patients. We have medical case study with doctors, and the nursing were pushing it on wheelchairs and people in crutches. So these are real patients. People done their homework. Don't rubbish it off us, right? The producer and the research fellow, they done the homework, and these are genuine patients, right? Not actors, not paid actors. Okay, yeah. So they all come out and this and that, and put in the front, and then, you know, the man in charge was really happy introducing everybody, say hello, and, you know, very, very good atmosphere. Everybody's happy, and then obviously the, you know, the pastors, the vicars, you know, the spiritual healer, shall we say that? I do his own work and do all this kind of thing, and the ritual comes in, and then, you know, everybody's singing, and okay, and miracles start right in front of the camera. the guys, you know, I think two guys were on wheelchairs and the other guy was on crutches and things like that, you know. And they start struggling, And I was like, oh, come on now, come on, brothers and sisters, come on, help us, brother and sister. So everybody get really excited. So am I. I said, wow, thinking how. And the atmosphere was really uplifted to the top. And the guy in charge was, you know, telling the choir to sing loud, really loud. Everybody's singing. And then the guy gradually stand up. He stood up and started walking off without a wheelchair. Now, and that time, you know, it's really like an orgasm. Everybody, whoa! God, it's the maximum, the height of emotional outburst. Okay, very happy, very, very happy. Okay, because you know you actually witness people dropping their crouch and start walking. I'm sure you've seen a lot of this, you know, documentary. Okay, so like I said, if you look at it from a research fellow's point of view, you look at different things. Okay, yeah. So it was very good. It was very good. Now, what I have learned is, okay, and I think the best thing was, okay, is afterwards, okay, and obviously it's a good ending, it's a happy ending, you know, they call it, like I said, spiritual healing, or you call it miracle healing, you know, right? Or I'll call it self-healing, okay? It's just a name, so there's no point in arguing about that, okay? Because no medication was involved. No medication was involved, okay? At that instant, okay? They might take a medication before, but at that instant, right? Yeah, obviously they still sit on the wheelchairs and on crutches, okay? And something really, really strange happening, all right? Okay, then the crew, about a week later, went back and interviewed, I think it's 5 of them, 5 different individuals. And what happened? Every one of them went back into the wheelchair or using the crutches. Now, so I'm a student, I'm a research fellows. My question is, how come it worked there and then and it doesn't work after a few days later? That's the way I learned from it. Like I said, I'm not looking at through any spiritual ways or religious way. Fine, you know. Like I said, I'm not a teacher for that, so I don't want to argue on all those things. My job is a research fellows. Why does it happen then and not happen afterward? Fair enough. So that means at that time, now if you talk about sounds now, the emotion now, all the stimulation now is an external energy. Now we just say about 10,000 people in a stadium. I think a bit more than that is a very big football pitch. And when, you know, the person in charge was praying, everybody pray and chant and whatever the words you're talking about, concentrate and send good hope and good energy to these few patients. Now you talk about 10,000 energy on the brain where everybody focus, right? So 10,000 chi, if you want to call it, or brainwave or frequency or vibration is only a term, okay? Something is there. Even heat, you know, infrared, you know, we want infrared, all right? Low frequency infrared heat, okay? So all this energy focused into the 4 or 5 people. So they received the external energy. Surely, it's just like I stick your finger in the socket in the wall, see if there's any reaction. So from that part, I would say that it's very powerful interaction. So we have accessibility, okay, from obviously human, but the thing is, because a whole group of cosmic, the people were creating an external energy zoom, right? And interaction start. So something happened inside. So when something happened inside, right, that means from internal Taoism medicine point of view, yeah, that stimulation has actually triggered the glands to open up, or what we call 竅門, 開竅取丹. A few thousand years we could talk about that, yeah. So from that point, that means the natural body medicine start flushing it out. right? And that time, all the emotion and all the natural body coming out, bang, and maybe give a boost. I don't know, obviously we need more data. Of course we need more data, but it happened. Yeah? Now afterward, there's no more external energy because everybody's gone home. Everybody's gone home. So the glands, right, or Lai Yun or Yogong or J Palace and all the different glands will slowly shut down. So the natural body medicine is no longer there. They are no longer releasing. Of course, you go straight back into where you were. So that's what I learned. And I would say that, yes, that's right. All this spiritual miracle healing, they do exist. But then again, it's just under different names. Okay? So, but can we do a little bit better as a scientists, as a research fellows? Right? How does it work? Now we know natural body medicine, self-healing start. But the thing is, now in Chinese, we have a few thousand years of this record. Can we make it a bit better? Yes, we did try, and we're still trying, and obviously it works. For a few thousand years, we make it into, right? We turn all these experiences into methodology, gong fa. So that means through the 5 elements and people coming into the bird and all these movements. And we try to use the mind and the body to trigger the natural body self-healing. Does it make sense to you now? Fair enough. Yeah. So all different culture will have their own methodology. Like I said, I'm not qualified to talk about their methodology because I don't even speak their languages. Okay. But I'm a fully qualified national grade 2 internal Taoist medicine research fellows, Beijing universities, and I can relating all to you. Fair enough. So good. Now wrap it up. Yes, self-healings. Yes, it can happen. Right? It had been happening in the past few thousand years all over the world. Different races have their own methods, and they all locked out in the history. Okay, it happened in the past, it happened now. And of course, it will happen in the future. So our job really is to try to, can we make it a better, shall we say, a curriculum, right? Better methods. So for 50% people, they are not sensitive to receive all the stimulation. Can we help them? So let them enjoy, right, the self-healing ability of our mind and our body. So that's why in Chinese, few thousand years ago, the knowledge is, 行气数, moving of energy. It was engraved in tiny little jade tablets about 2,300 years old. The knowledge had been recorded about 3,000 years ago. And today, 行气数, in the ancient term, also called qi fa. And today's term is called qigong. That's all. Okay. And another one is Dao Yin Su. Also, we found, the scripts recording all the movements of the body, exercises, methodology. Okay, yeah. So from our institute, right, we are looking using first-hand information about 3,000 years ago. We try to look into, bypass everything going back. Try to use that because we have the opportunity to have that kind of very old ancient text, which give us a lot of information, first-hand information. So that's why I'm sharing with you guys. So this is a Chinese culture exchange platform. And I hope you enjoy this. Okay, so thank you for coming. And I'm Dr. YK Leung. Right, thank you and stay safe. Okay, and I'll see you.